Today I am sharing 12 things I regret not knowing sooner when I started quilting. These are tricks and tips that will make your quilting journey so much easier, more efficient, and will make your quilts turn out just a little bit better. This video is perfect for beginners, but also has great information if you've already sewn a few quilts. You will learn tricks and tips for quicker sewing and quilting hacks that you can implement right away. I'm even sharing a few stories of things I've done that I hope you never do. Let's dive into my first quilting regret. Before we get started, check out my Quilt Creators bundle. This bundle is an amazing deal and has everything you need to start your quilting journey off on the right foot. Click the link in the description to get all the details. My first tip is that you do not have to pre-wash quilting fabric. The reason for this is most high quality quilting cottons won't shrink much anyways, but another reason is that when they do shrink after you have quilted your design, you will get this really beautiful crinkly effect. Here is a quilt before it's been washed. So I have this one quilted but have not washed it yet. And you can see how crisp and clean this is. It's gorgeous. But after you wash it, you are gonna get this really fun crinkle effect. So don't pre-wash your quilting fabrics so you don't miss out on this cozy crinkle. My next tip is to start small. You do not want to bite off more than you can chew and get overwhelmed. So I recommend doing a quilty project like a pot holder, a pillow cover, or even a zipper case. There are so many projects that use all the same skills as sewing quilts, but are smaller and easier to digest. This will give you the opportunity to try out piecing, trimming, rotary cutting, all the skills you'll use in quilting, but on a smaller scale. With a tinier project, you can finish it and build your confidence before taking on a larger quilt project. And even when you start quilting, start with a baby quilt and work your way up. Just knowing you can finish something will give you the confidence you need to continue your quilting journey. In this next tip, I'm going to show you how to hack your quilt rulers to make them more useful for the project that you're doing. I have misplaced my 4.5-inch ruler, but that is the size I need to trim these blocks down. I found my 5.5 ruler though, so I am going to tape off where the 4.5 lines are, and that way I'll be able to see quickly and easily where my 4.5-inch block should go. Having the tape on there to show me where my 4.5-inch lines are makes it so much faster to find the perfect placement for my block when I'm trimming. Another trick I use is to use a Sharpie on the top of my ruler to mark middle points. This is super great if you are doing quarter square triangles and need to know where the middle of your block should be. Once I have drawn that dot on, I can easily find my middle mark and line it up with the intersection of my points. That way I can trim my 4.5-inch block perfectly centered with the dot in the middle. When you are doing this, you want to make sure you are using the marker on the shiny top side of your ruler, not on the bottom side where you have marks already. The best part about this is you can use basic nail polish remover and a cotton ball to remove that mark or move it around for different projects. My next tip is a super simple one, and it is to keep a little bin near you when you're trimming for your scraps. That way you have a place to put your scraps right by your cutting mat, so you'll keep your quilting space clean. I also love this because instead of throwing my scraps into my garbage can, I can go back and pick out the larger scraps that I can still use for a project without having to pick through my actual garbage. This next tip is for pressing lots of blocks open all at the same time. Whenever I'm sewing half square triangles, I always end up sewing quite a few of them at the same time, and I always want the seam allowances to be pressed in the same direction. So a trick is to put the fabric down on your mat. The fabric you do not want the seam allowance to be behind. So I want the seam allowance to be behind the blue fabric, so I put the pink fabric down and then use my iron to push the blue fabric to the other side. I like to just start pressing the next block right on top of my first one. That way I keep it in the same position so I know the seam allowance is going where I want it. My next tip is to never skip trimming and squaring up your blocks. This can make such a huge difference in your final product. It is so tempting to skip these little steps because they are mundane, but when I was starting out, I would often skip them and then my blocks would not fit together quite right. So making sure you trim and square up your blocks as precisely as possible is essential for when you're going to piece them together later. My next tip will sound like motherly advice, but it is to be so careful when you are using a rotary cutter and an acrylic ruler. I know from experience that these can slip and just cut you right up. So be careful where you put your fingers. Make sure you have a solid hold on your ruler and cut slowly. It's also important to make sure the blade of your rotary cutter and the edges of your rulers are nice and sharp. When you start getting little cuts in your rulers, that's where your rotary cutter will snag. Keeping your blade sharp will help you from getting those snags in the rulers in the first place. You will never regret slowing down when you are using a rotary cutter. I love using my quilter's clapper, but here's a tip. You don't actually need one of these. There are so many things in your house that you can use to hold your seam allowance down. So a quilter's clapper is sort of like a tailor's clapper, and it is used to hold your seam allowance from your quilting block down while it cools. You can grab a book, a magazine, or anything that's heavy enough to hold fabric down to put right on that seam as it cools. Lift it up and you will have a flat seam. You can see that the book and the clapper did about the same, so this is a trick you can use right away. I spent way too long making flying geese one at a time, and the worst part about this method is that you end up with so much extra fabric. After sewing 2 squares onto my flying geese block, I end up with these 4 triangles that is enough for a whole another quilt block. So instead I'm going to show you a method that will leave you with 4 flying geese blocks and no waste. This is called the no waste flying geese method. We'll need a square that measures 8 1/4 inches. The square will be the goose part of the flying geese. And then we'll need 4 squares measuring 4 3/8 inches for the sky part of the block. So in this example, my cherry fabric is my flying goose, and then the sky is made of stripes. Place your square face up and then place 2 squares face down in opposite diagonal corners, overlapping a little bit in the middle. Now we're going to draw a line through all 3 of those squares diagonally across the square. Stick a few pins in these layers to hold them together, and then sew on either side of the line 1/4 inch from that line you drew with your fabric marker. Use a rotary cutter and ruler to cut along the line that you just drew, separating your fabric into 2 blocks. Use your iron to press the sky parts up. This will create a shape that looks like a little heart. Then the next step is to grab another square and place it down in the open corner. Use your fabric marker to draw a line diagonally. It'll go right through the top of that little heart shape, and that will be the other side of our flying goose sky. Pin those together and run them through the sewing machine the same way you did before, with 1/4 inch on either side of that marker line. Then cut it open again. Press that open to reveal your finished flying goose block. Each of your heart-shaped sides will give you 2 flying geese for a total of 4 for this method, and you'll notice that there are no pieces to trim off and no waste, just 4 beautiful blocks that you can use for your quilt. This next tip is great if you're not a person that likes to be on the floor. This is called a quilt design wall, and there are a few different kinds you can purchase on Amazon. You can also make your own with a tablecloth from the dollar store. Quilt design walls work a lot like felt boards, if you remember those from when you were a kid, telling felt stories with little felt pieces that stuck on another piece of felt. So the Dollar Tree has these flannel lined tablecloths for $1.25, and on the back is basically a felt feeling material that holds fabric just by pressing it on. So you can grab a few push pins and hang this on your wall, and then just lay your fabric blocks or pieces up to make sure your design is where you want it to be before you start sewing it together. My next tip is to avoid quilting tool overwhelm. There are hundreds and thousands of quilting tools on the market, and although I love to try them out and share them with you, you don't need every single tool. All you need is a basic ruler and a rotary cutter and a basic sewing machine to get started. So keep that in mind if you are feeling overwhelmed or like you can't tackle a project because you don't have all the tools. My last quilting tip is that done is better than perfect. Although I want to help you avoid as many mistakes as possible, mistakes are inevitable. You're gonna make mistakes and you'll learn from them. You will get better with each quilt that you sew. So jump in and have fun sewing quilts. Thanks for watching. For more sewing tips, click the video above.